Shall we begin?
You shall.
All right, good morning. Welcome to the new, not normal, virtual research symposium. I'm Doug Noonan.
And I'm Joanna Veronkovich.
We are the co-directors of the Arts, Entrepreneurship, and Innovation Lab. The AEI Lab is a part of the Center for Cultural Affairs here at Indiana University, a new center dedicated to advancing and supporting the field. We're excited to have you all here joining us for this virtual event. We're dedicating this symposium to discussions about the post-pandemic world for the artistic sector and creative workers. Originally, we began organizing this event to facilitate a discussion among experts and thought leaders about innovation and entrepreneurship in the creative sector. Then the coronavirus hit, and we saw the arts sector and creative workers around the world be rocked by the pandemic. And we had no choice but to shift gears and shift our purpose to discussing the implication of the virus for the arts and cultural field. While we still want to explore the possibilities and projections about where we're going next, what the post-coronavirus world may look like for this sector, with a particular interest to the innovations and adaptations that we might expect to see, we recognize that the pandemic is not likely what's on the top of everyone's minds these days. In the past couple of weeks, we've seen an uprising of protesters and social movements demanding we see change with respect to the racial injustice that plagues all sectors of our society, including the creative sector. So our purpose with this event is to examine the new, not the normal here, whatever those terms mean to you. We're excited to have you all watching this event. There are many ways you can participate in this event beyond simply watching the event on YouTube. You can tweet your questions and comments using the Center for Cultural Affairs Twitter handle at @CCAO'Neill, #AEI 2020. You can send us your questions via email at ccaoneil@indiana.edu. We're also hosting a Zoom room backstage at AEI where you can meet other attendees and participate in discussion with them throughout the day. Find the information on how to connect to backstage at AEI on our website. We sincerely hope that you'll continue these conversations after today's event ends as well. We have many people to thank for this event being able to take place. I want to first off thank the National Endowment for the Arts for their support and their partnership with us through their National Research Labs program. We also want to give our thanks to the O'Neill School, Dean Sean Mooney, and Executive Associate Dean Tom Stuckey. Thanks to Indiana University's New Frontiers and New Currents program for additional support for this event. And thanks to the invaluable help from the Center for Cultural Innovation, Karen Gall-Mills, and Nikki Rolfe-Boyd in helping to organize this event. We also must acknowledge the hard work from our graduate student team to help make this event actually function. That would be Casey Rich, Michael Weigel, and Casey Riddell. Back here. So originally we planned for this event to be in person with bagels and coffee and parking headaches for everybody. And then the pandemic hit and we had to redesign the event, shifting everything online to this virtual format. So this online symposium, a series of live stream virtual roundtables throughout the day, is an experiment for all of us during some rather unusual circumstances. That being said, we're flexible on where this conversation goes, and we're just glad you're a part of it. We welcome a messy, respectful conversation today. As attendees, you choose how to participate in this event. Many of you have already watched the pre-recorded videos provided by our featured speakers. They're up on our website right now. If you haven't had a chance to watch them, go take a look. Since these live stream panels we're going to have today, we'll be referencing and addressing some of what we said in those presentations. These videos are remarks that our featured speakers pre-recorded at different times, some as recently as last week and some a few weeks ago. And given that our contexts have been rapidly changing over the past few weeks and months, please keep that in mind when viewing these presentations. On that note, I would like to extend a big thanks to our speakers, the keynoters, the panelists, who came together so willingly and so thoughtfully during adverse circumstances. We know that many of you in the audience signed up today to attend because of the great panel we've got as a lineup here. Our first panel is New Horizons, which will feature Lucy Bernholtz, the Director of Digital Civil Society at Stanford University, Linda Essig, the Dean of the College of Arts and Letters at Cal State LA, Mark Bamuthi Joseph, the Vice President and Artistic Director of Social Impact at the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, Sunil Iyengar, Research and Analysis Director at the National Endowment for the Arts, and John Leland, the Vice President of Insights at Kickstarter. In Lucy's pre-recorded remarks, you can hear her perspectives on civil society, the role and shortcomings of digital platforms, and what all that might mean now that more of life has gone digital. John's remarks give a different perspective on related aspects as he pulls back the veil on the experiences of creative entrepreneurs using a digital platform, Kickstarter, during the pandemic and lockdown. Bamuthi's remarks offer bold ideas about how artists and creative entrepreneurs can advance community health in a time of crisis. His remarks give a brilliant example of the connection between the arts, the pandemic, and injustices coming to a head in our communities. We look forward to seeing these ideas and great perspectives gather at our first roundtable.
Our second panel, which I'll be moderating, community engagement, features Amaka Agbo. She's founder and principal of Amaka Agbo Consulting. Alan Brown, he's principal at Wolf Brown Consulting. Tali Katz-Garrow, she is a professor of sociology at the University of Haifa. Peter Lynette, president of Slover Lynette Audience Research, and Mark Shapiro, president and CEO of the Toronto Blue Jays. So this panel comes at the topic of community and engagement from some very different perspectives. You can see that in their introductory remarks as Wamaka introduces her approach to restorative economics as a way to build up communities. And Mark discusses the challenges and opportunities of running a major organization dependent on live performances. Plus, Alan and Peter each have extensive efforts underway to assess the conditions of artists, organizations, and audiences during the pandemic. And then Tali brings some great expertise in audiences and cultural participation, especially in multicultural and global settings. So it should be a wide-ranging and fascinating discussion.
On our third panel, Creative Destruction brings together a handful of prominent economists from around the world to give their take on the innovations we might expect or desire in a post-COVID-19 world. The group includes Tyler Cowen, professor of economics at George Mason University, Derek Hamilton, the executive director at the Kirwan Institute for the Study of Race and Ethnicity at The Ohio State University, Jason Potts, the director of the Blockchain Innovation Hub at RMIT University in Melbourne, and Ruth Taus, the co-director of the Center for Intellectual Property Policy and Management at Bournemouth University. Tyler's pre-recorded remarks offer perspectives on some evolution that we might expect in the arts and cultural realm post-COVID-19. Derek's commentary focuses on opportunities for important systemic changes post-pandemic. They're joined by Jason in Australia and Ruth in England, bringing some different perspectives and certainly different time zones to the opportunities for post-change pandemic world. All of these panel presentations are being recorded and will be posted on the Center for Cultural Affairs website. We're also hosting a research workshop tomorrow with paper presentations on arts and entrepreneurship from over 25 authors from around the world. Check out the website for more information about that, for all the new and existing content from the AEI Lab and the CCA that we're currently working hard to produce. If you want to learn more about the CCA, stick around during the lunch break right here on this live stream for more information about what the center does. First, some examples about some research.
Sure. So let's talk a little bit just about what's coming out of the Arts Entrepreneurship and Innovation Lab. We've been open for 2 years now, and we've done some what we think is pretty interesting work. So we've done a little bit of work on the artist's role in civic innovation, and we're calling this entrepreneurship work, which is the idea that artists can actually serve within organizations and bring innovation and new ways of thinking to traditional structures of work. And so we've run some experiments over the past couple of years trying to test these concepts, looking at transfer of artist skill sets. And we are now setting up for a new round of experiments that will start up with our next 2 years of our AI lab. And we're trying to replicate the experiments that we ran last year, and while also trying to look at how the post-COVID world or the COVID world is affecting artists' workplaces, the economic and social conditions of artists, et cetera. So we have a lot of really exciting work coming up in the next couple of years, building on the first 2 years of, I think, what's been a really successful start to the AEI Lab. You can check out some of the work that we are publishing in the Stanford Social Innovation Review, which we published an article on the preliminary results of the artist's role in civic innovation work just this past January. So check that out. That's on our website. You can find the link to it.
Great, thanks. And another example, the kind of work we're doing at the AEI Lab involves studying the emerging gig economy, freelancers, and the growing role of crowdfunding platforms for creative entrepreneurs. Our research has shown that crowdfunding's reach in the arts and cultural sector is quite broad. It's as broad as the internet itself, but it does have some uneven impacts. And as we adapt to new realities in the post-COVID-19 world, the role of these online platforms is likely to grow as more creative work shifts to these digital distanced online settings, whether it's for producing the art and creative content or consuming it or building communities to engage with it. Our work has already shown how crowdfunding creators are adapting to the pressures put on by the crowd of backers that they work with. And we can see how the power to reach bigger crowds and cultivate a community of supporters online is likely to be a key part of many new strategies in a post-pandemic world.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for more of this great work coming out of the AEI Lab. This virtual event today marks the culmination of phase 1 of the AEI Lab, and we're excited to grow into phase 2 as we start building our work, working with artists, pushing for more innovative organizations, whether it's conducting large-scale surveys of artists to better understand their social and economic conditions, or whether just continuing our work about how artists are able to marshal support from their networks, their funders, and their communities, especially in a distanced digital age.
And small plug, Doug, I'll just want to add is that if you are interested in any of this work, if you go to our website, we have a series of research briefs on some of the work we've done in the first phase of the AEI Lab. So you can just read summaries of some of this work on the Leveraging Creativity event website, which is the research workshop that'll be taking place tomorrow. So please check that out.
Yes, and again, to remind everybody as we go forward with this event today, make sure you send any questions via the email. You can use the Twitter handle and tweet us some questions. And we're looking forward to having a robust bit of participation, some exciting panels later today. That begins promptly at 11 o'clock. So stay tuned on this live stream at 11 when we're going to be back to begin with panel A. And thank you all again for joining us this morning. We're excited to see where this conversation goes today.
Thanks, everyone, and see you soon.